Good morning, everyone. It's great to see you. Happy Monday. I am ready to get started. I just flew in this morning on an overnight flight from Los Angeles, California, because that's where I spent the weekend. So I did my sleeping last night on the plane on the way here. So if you're tired, I'm with you this morning, and we're going to make it an absolutely amazing call. There was a video that I watched one time, and I want to encourage you guys to watch it. It's called The Lollipop Moment. It's a TED Talk, and it talks about how sometimes the small things that we do make an amazing impact in the lives of the people that we serve, or that we're just frankly a part of. Not necessarily that we're a massive part of their life, but just that we're a part of their life in general. And in this TED Talk, the gentleman talks about how he gave a lollipop to somebody who was standing in line at their college, in the college admissions line. They had just gone through and they were spending their first weekend at college. And for her, she was thinking, gosh, I don't know if this university thing is for me. And it was the very first weekend that she had stepped foot onto the university. And he came up to her, and he was raising money for kids with cystic fibrosis, and he gave her a lollipop and said some really corny joke to her. And in that moment in time, she realized that it was going to be okay, because she could relax, and that it wasn't going to be as hard as she thought it was, because there were people that were at that university that were going to treat her well and just give her a sense of peace. And she goes back 4 years later, when this guy announces that he's leaving the university to go and work somewhere else, and she walks up to him and tells him this story of, you made a difference in my life. And he said, I didn't even remember that. So that's why he calls them lollipop moments, because just being kind and being ourselves and being intentional with adding value to people, like we talked about yesterday, we may never know the impact that we have. So I share that with you because over the weekend, I found out that my college and high school choir director was going to be retiring. And I did not want to miss it. So I'm going to share a screen. I'm going to share my screen with you really quick. This gentleman right here, his name is Dr. Gary Bonner. And I learned more about business in the choir room than I think he would have ever thought. And so I flew on Saturday morning to Los Angeles, California, so that I could be there for one of his very last concerts that he was going to do. And I did it because in that video, Lollipop Moments, it talks about how we wait until basically people are past to memorialize all of the things that they've done and the impacts that they've had on our lives. And while that's great and everything, because we get to remember them on Facebook with all of these tributes, unfortunately, they're not here to experience and understand and hear the impact that they made on us. You see, there's really two statements that have profoundly impacted me in my life. One of them was from a lady named Avis Wukash, who I've mentioned on the call before. She's my business partner in Austin, Texas. And the day that she asked me the question, when she asked me if I'd be interested in becoming a team leader, I said, I don't know. And then she asked me why I got into real estate. And I said, well, I got into real estate because I truly enjoy helping people. And the question that she asked me that made a massive impact on my life was, what if I could show you how to help the people who are helping the people? And I sat there and said, well, that's a new concept. Tell me more about that. And she said, well, you got into the business because you enjoyed helping people, right? And I said, yes. She said, well, you're really good at what you do. What if I could show you how to use your skills to help the people who are helping the people? And by doing that, your reach is far greater and your impact is even greater. And that's where I learned that there's a difference between success and significance. And John Maxwell talks about success being what we can do for ourselves. Significance is what we can do for others. And once you've tasted significance, success will never be enough. So that was one of those statements. And then there was another one. And it came from this gentleman right here, who said this, and I've got to pull it up on my screen because I forgot to open the slide here. Give me 1 second. He said something that was huge, and he didn't even know it. And when I went up to him on Saturday night and told him, he said, well, I don't ever remember saying that. But I can assure you he did. He said, what you are doing has longevity and will far surpass your expectations. And to go on and elaborate with this was at a master's of music class that I was sitting in. I was not getting my master's in music. They just needed people to sing in this choir so that these master's students had people to conduct. And when he said this, he said, what you are doing has longevity and will far surpass your expectations. He went on to elaborate by saying, many of the things that you do and the impacts you make on people, you will never actually be here to experience because they will live far beyond you. Your reach will far exceed even the reach you expect to see, because when you make an impact on somebody, that one impact that you can make on them can live for generations and generations and generations because of how you treated them. And, I think we have to be careful because that could go two ways. It could go treating them really well. It could go treating them not so well. So what you are doing has longevity. And in this aspect, we're talking about the positive impact of longevity. Now, so many people focus on leaving a legacy that they oftentimes forget the only way to truly leave one is by choosing to live one every single day. Living your legacy every single day. Now, what in the world does that mean? Well, it means waking up and intentionally living the life that you want people to look back and say, I remember Matt because, I remember Shirley for, I remember Heather because this is what she made me feel like. This is how she treated people. This is the impact that I want to be remembered for. Now, in Quantum Leap, if you haven't ever taken that class before, I want to encourage you to take it with me when I teach it next time, which will be sometime in January. But there's this slide that I added to it. Not all of my slides are KW approved slides. I've added some in there because I think they make an even greater point. But there's this one in there that has these two people who are sitting in a boat, and they're experiencing Venice. However, they waited so long that they didn't get to truly experience it because they were too tired to experience it. And if you look at the gondolier, I think that's what you call them over there, he's got this smile and smirk on his face and he's laughing because he's got these two people who probably waited their whole life and saved up all of their money to go and experience this one thing, and they're too tired to really live out the experience. Now, here is what's important to remember about this. In our society, we're often taught and people believe that there's this pattern that you have to follow, which is you learn, then you work, then you play. And right here it says, when these periods become more and more isolated from each other, they begin to look like boxes. Well, is it possible that maybe we do business in the most complex way possible, and we don't grow our businesses through what we love doing, playing? Is it possible for us to play, work, and learn all at the exact same time? I would submit to you that it absolutely is possible. Could it look like this? Could your life be learning and playing on Saturday and Sunday? And now I get it. We're in real estate. Sometimes we're going to have to work on the weekends. As a matter of fact, a lot of time we're going to have to work on the weekends. But are you working, learning, and playing in conjunction with one another? And the story that I like to share is this one. There was a guy in Round Rock, Texas, and in Bold one time, he said, I am not going to make 20 contacts a week. Well, the coach looked at him and said, all right, well, let's talk at break. Because by the way, y'all, this was on step number 1 of Bold, and he had already signed up for the full thing. So the coach said, hey, look, at lunch, let's talk. And him and this coach sat down together, and he said, look, I understand you don't want to make 20 contacts a day, but what do you love doing? And the guy was like, well, I love playing golf, but what does that have to do with this? And he says, well, what if I challenged you during the time that we're in Bold to every single day go and play golf? And the guy was like, so wait, you're going to give me an excuse to go home and tell my wife that I have to go and play golf every single day because it's going to help my real estate business? And the guy looks at him and says, all right, sign me up. I'm going to do it. And he says, but here's the catch. Every single day, 5 days a week, when you go and play golf, you can't play with the same people. You have to go to the clubhouse and you have to tell them, I need to play with 3 new people every single day. So basically, you're going to be the 4th person in a foursome. And he says, all right, I can do that. Because you have those people held hostage kind of for the next 4 hours, and you're going to have to talk to them about something. You might as well talk to them about real estate. And so he says, okay, I can do that. And then the coach looks at him and says, okay, and there's one other thing that you're going to have to do here. That one other thing is after you've finished your round of golf, you have to go hang out at the driving range for 2 hours. So coach, you're telling me that in order for me to do this and get through Bold, I have to play golf 5 days a week and hang out at the driving range 2 hours a day. Yep, that's exactly what I'm telling you. And by the way, while you're doing it, you have to talk to people about real estate. Okay, I can do that. Well, would you believe that during that time, on average, every single week, how many contacts did this person make? About 100, which rounds out to about 20 contacts a day, surprisingly. And he was doing something that he loved doing. Now, within 6 months of Bold happening, of him finishing Bold, the guy closed like 14 transactions. Where did those transactions come from? They came from mostly relationships he built on the golf course, doing something that he already loved doing, because all of a sudden the coach challenged him to become intentional with what he was passionate about. So my question for you today is it time to start learning, working, and playing in conjunction with one another and stop looking at them as 3 completely separate things? You see, going and experiencing a choir performance for somebody's last time, or for this person, one of his last times, was really impactful to me, but it was also what a lot of people don't know is one of the ways that I built my business. When I was in Central Texas, I sang for a group called the Central Texas Master Singers. And I built a lot of my real estate transactions through that group. I hung out with them every Monday night in choir practice. And then we sang in different churches 2 or 3 times a month. And by doing that, I built great relationships with people who I added to my database. And I ended up selling a lot of homes to those people because I wasn't afraid to tell them what I did. And I loved singing in that. And it was a great way to connect with them and a great way to continue to make an impact on something that I love doing. Now, going one more step to living your legacy, I also got to spend a little bit of time over the weekend with these two people. These are my grandparents. My grandpa is 95. Well, he'll be 95 next month. And my grandma is 90. And he still drives, they go to McDonald's every single morning. And when I asked him over the weekend, I said, hey, Grandma, Grandpa, what is the secret to living such a long life and being fairly healthy for the most part? And my grandpa looks at me and he says, well, I guess your grandma and I have been going to McDonald's every morning for the last 30 years. So that could be it. And he says, just breathe every single day. And then I asked him, because they've been married for 75 years now. I said, I asked my grandma and grandpa both, what is the secret to having such a long lasting marriage? And my grandpa said, just say yes. And my grandma said, you know what? Just keep loving him, even when you feel like maybe you shouldn't. And so those two people have lived a legacy for their whole life. They never let themselves be those people who were sitting in the gondola too tired to go and experience life. As a matter of fact, at 95 or almost 95 years old, a month ago, the two of them drove from Southern California to Idaho to just go have a weekend together. Now, there's a lot of people out there that at 95 years old should not be on the road. I followed my grandpa to a restaurant the other day. He's still good to go. And they're not letting life just slip by. So here's what I want to challenge you to do today. Don't let life slip by. Make an impact through what you love doing and build your business around what you love doing. You're already there. You're already passionate about it. You might as well leverage your passions to grow in an easier way than growing in the hardest way possible. And by the way, this whole cell phone thing right here, these are people who already know you, they already like you, and they already trust you. Don't be afraid to call those people. They want to hear from you. Now, when I say that, you don't have to make every single conversation about business to get business from your database. Make the conversations about them. Because here's what I know. We don't know what's going on the other side of the phone. And us picking up the phone that day and deciding to actually follow through with what we're supposed to do and call our database can be a bigger impact than you even realize, just by picking up the phone to say, hello, how are you? And I care about you. So what did you take away from our conversation this morning?
Hey, Scott. Good
Hey,
morning.
Diane. Good morning.
So many things. So many things, but the most profound message is because my daughter's a singer and she was always the lead, always the front runner. And in 9th grade, her voice teacher said, join the choir. You need to learn how to work with a team. And she fought her. She did not want to join the choir, but she joined the choir. She did choir all 4 years of high school. She only went to high school for choir because she did at home school.
Yeah.
And now she has learned how to collaborate with other musicians. And so how do we translate that in business? It's the same thing. We're solo. A lot of us are solo agents. And I was a project manager in my previous lifetime. So learning how to work with a team and learning that we're all in this together, thick and thin. It's not really only about money. It's about the success of the team. So I love it. And your grandparents, oh my God, I'm dying from your grandparents. So Love
Yeah,
it.
had a blast with them. We ended up going to a restaurant called the Steak Corral, and it's a restaurant they've been going to since well before I was even born, and we had a good time with that. Shirley.
What stood out to me is living your legacy. I think that's powerful. In my previous career, I was a hospice nurse, and early on, I met numerous people who were dying. They had done the work and now they were expecting to enjoy life, and here they are facing death. So a lot of lessons I learned early on. But just thinking of a great person many of us know is Jay Cermak. And I'm remembering the last class that I attended that he taught the 6 personal perspective. He enjoyed teaching. And then that is a legacy that lives on with what he enjoyed. So that stood out to me, living your legacy.
Yeah, yeah. The living your legacy part is really, really important, because then you can be intentional about the legacy that you leave. So many people leave it up to chance, and they don't really work on exactly what they want to be known for. And that is a big opportunity. All right, Clarissa.
Good morning. What was most powerful that you said was leverage your passions to do your business.
Yeah.
And it's finally I'm finally coming around to that.
Good, good. And you know what, Clarissa, when you really embrace that, your business falls into place in a bigger way than you can ever imagine. And it starts to get a whole lot easier because you already love the things that you're doing.
Mhm.
You're not having to push yourself. Yes, you're pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, but you're doing it in a way that you're a little more comfortable with because you're around people that you love to do it with.
Exactly.
Heather.
Mine was actually the same thing. So I wrote down just doing business the way that, like, with people and around, like, all the, like, the soccer games. Like, I'm known for going and not talking to anybody. Matt's laughing and you'd appreciate that. Like, I would just go and kind of keep to myself, or even like going to the yacht club. I do the same thing where I could easily just turn around and be a little bit more social. And then I also sent my mom the picture of the people because she always keeps saying she never traveled and my dad won't travel. And I'm like, you're just getting, like, she's waiting for someone. And I'm like, you just need to go, like, just stop waiting for him and just go. And so it's going to be me. I'm going to have to take her.
There you go. Hey,
Yeah.
needs to get on the gondola, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
So.
Thank you, Heather. I love that. Phil.
Hey, Scott, how we doing?
Great. Good to see you.
Sorry. Good to see you as well. Sorry
I
about
hear your son in the background.
Yeah, I was about to say, sorry about that. Let me switch rooms here. So the biggest thing I took away, well, it's kind of a story from last week, is that, oh, sorry. Jeez. All right, back in the office. Is that I've never been one to make the most, I call them care calls, just, hey, how you doing? I picked up the phone last week. I was on the drive to a listing appointment, and I was like driving through a small town that I sold the house to a guy in about maybe almost a year ago.
Okay. And
just give him a call. And just was like, hey, haven't heard from you in a while. I want to come check out the house. Like, how's everything going? And his words when he closed the call are going to stand with me forever and give me the motivation that I need to do that more often. And he said, Phil, everything's great. And I'm so glad that you called me today. And I was like, all right, I've been missing out on this opportunity. So 2023, new year, new me.
I love that, Phil. And the connection side of it is so important. We could say that we're in real estate all day long, y'all. We're not. We're in the relationship business. Any business that you're in, you're not selling a product. You're connecting with a relationship. The product doesn't matter. The relationship that you have is the most important thing. So thank you for reminding us of that, Phil. Vicky.
What you brought today was amazing. I mean, just seeing your grandparents and how special that is. But what stood out for me is that you said that reaching out to your database, because those are the people that know and trust you. And I've had such a struggle with that because I prefer to door knock and just see people and just do that. But that resonated with me just now. And I know I keep struggling with that, but leading with the heart and letting people know that, you're there for them, especially this time of year, is really what I'm going to focus on. And I'm going to just show up and hope that I can be there for them and just let them know that, thinking of them. So I
Vicky,
appreciate that. Thank you, Scott.
thank you for sharing that. And one other thing that I want you to look at with this is you're the only person who knows the level of service that you're going to be able to provide them. You're doing a disservice to yourself and to them by not reaching out to them, because somebody else could serve them and not do it nearly as well as you, and they could end up in a bad situation. That's why we have a responsibility to call all of those people that know, like, and trust us, so that we can make sure they're served in the best possible way.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
All right, so I want to wrap it up again by reminding you to do this. Every single day, wake up and intentionally ask yourself the question, what is the legacy that I want to leave? And then go and live it. Go and live it intentionally every single day. And remember, in life, anything you want to accomplish is right outside of your comfort zone. You're going to have to step just a little bit outside of it in order to accomplish the things that you want to. You don't have to get completely outside of it. Take a little step outside, test the water, and then get more and more comfortable with it over time. I appreciate you all for being here with me today, and I can't wait to see you again tomorrow. I'll talk to y'all later. Have a good day. Bye.